my name is Riley Gilhorn, and I'm doing my informative speech over human sex trafficking. And according to Spectrum News, in 2017 there was a total of 804 human trafficking cases just in Texas. Most of the victims were adult women who were being forced into sex and labor trafficking. This being said means that there are too many women and children being taken almost every day, going through horrific events just in the state of Texas alone. These women are mothers, wives, daughters, and sisters being taken from their loved ones, forced to do awful things against their will. What if it was your loved one? How could you bear the thought of that happening to them, especially when some are never seen again? The scariest part of it all is that human trafficking doesn't just happen in Texas or the United States, but all over the world. It happens every day, at any time. It could be happening right in front of you, but we wouldn't even know it. Human trafficking is sickening to the human stomach and mind. People suffer every day and could be suffering right now because of this inhumane problem going on in the world today. Young girls, innocent women, even little boys being tortured, abused, and drugged, all so that the people behind it can make millions of dollars off their bodies. In the end, when these people are no longer needed, they aren't people anymore, but just dolls that were played with. I believe people need to be more educated on the subject and find new ways to stop this madness going on all over the world. In this informative speech about human trafficking, light needs to be shed upon, first, the number of cases that are reported for human trafficking each year for the missing of women and young children. Second, how it affects not only the victims, but the families of the victims, and also the impacts it has on one's body and mind post-trauma. Lastly, trying to make people aware of their surroundings at all times, because you never really know who you could be dealing with. It truly is hard to believe the number of people reported missing each year, never knowing what happened to them, but always wishing you could have done something to stop it. If you were to wake up one day and find out your friend from high school is missing and no one can find her, but they believe she was taken on her way home from work, all you can do is cry for her. Did you know, according to Arc of Hope for Children, 600,000 to 800,000 women, children, and even boys go missing and are bought and sold across international borders every year, and then forced into sex labor? Or could you imagine if your daughter or little sister went off in the grocery store to look around while you were taking care of your grocery list, and when you turned around she was gone, and you never found her again? It happens way too often all the time. Mothers are usually scared to take their eyes off their little ones just for a few moments nowadays. And they should be. 50% of these victims being taken are estimated to be children. That's also according to Arc of Hope for Children. Children being taken in stores and public places happen all the time. The internet can also be a scary place for younger kids and even adults. Like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Anybody can make a fake account and say they're somebody they aren't. You never know who you're dealing with online. The young girls are still on it every day. It's estimated that 76% of transactions for sex with underage girls start on the internet. Reasons why people should always be mindful when choosing to talk with a stranger through Facebook or Instagram, or etc. When you think of human trafficking, you don't want to think the worst, but the worst is the truth. These humans being taken are young girls who are still minors and innocent people who haven't even fully lived their lives yet and might never be able to because of this problem. The little girl who was taken from the grocery store is scared of what will happen to her. She may never see her family again and she doesn't know what to do or how to save herself, but she wants to try. This little girl wants to be saved and brought back to her family. She wouldn't be the same little girl they once knew, but a girl with sleeping and eating disorders, sexually transmitted diseases, possibly a drug addiction, while also dealing with fear and anxiety anywhere she goes. Let's say a girl takes her younger sister to get ice cream, and when she is ordering, the younger sister is suddenly taken. The older sister may blame herself, and so may the parents. None of them would understand why this was happening to their family. During a hard, tragic time like this, families will usually divide, not knowing what to do and blaming others as a way of coping, according to Dottie Laster, a human trafficking activist and advocate. She goes in to explain how families try their hardest to reach out and do anything they can to find their missing loved one, but law enforcement will step in and suggest to move on from it or say if they are adults there is nothing to be done, which is another problem with human trafficking. Law enforcement usually can't do much about it. When a loved one is taken, you can't think of anything else but when you will see them again and when they will be home. introduced to their loved ones again, it comes with a lot of complications, according to James McTavish. Lots of health problems are caused after human trafficking, such as exhaustion, frequent viral illnesses, infections, backaches, sleeplessness and depression, headaches, stomach aches, eating disorders, and many more. The girls that come home after all the abuse they went through are stronger than anyone. Have to deal with the most. They will have to deal with the most. They will have to be cared for and watched after all the time and get the help they need to overcome the awful things they had to experience. You see the news every night. You see another missing person. You think to yourself, that could never happen to me or my family, but that's just wishful thinking. It can happen to anyone at any time. But the part that could help save your life would be knowing where you are at all times and knowing your surroundings. Whether it's Target, Walgreens, or a football game, you can be taken anywhere no matter who you're with or what time it is. These things happen on the kidnapper's time, not yours, which is why you always want to watch your peers and surroundings. A woman once shared a Facebook post a few months ago warning other girls about her neighborhood Target she was at the other night with her daughter. She mentioned how she noticed a woman was following her around and giving her the creeps. She had a gut feeling the lady didn't have good intentions. The woman with her daughter kept her eyes open for any weird behavior and knew she needed to grab what she was looking for and leave quickly. When she finished checking out, she noticed the strange lady was standing over by the doors waiting for her to leave. So she asked a worker to walk her and her daughter to her car, which was a good call on her part because when they stepped out, she noticed the lady was with a man waiting for her, but drove off right away after seeing she wasn't alone. Now let's say you are going on a vacation with your family and you're so excited to get away for a few days and just have some fun. California is one of the top 10 places for human trafficking to occur in the United States, and it's also a great place for getting away on vacation. Instead of having fun and not caring about anything in the world, you have to be aware at all times of everyone around you and where you are. Never wandering too far by yourself without someone else with you, just in case someone has their eyes on you. It happens all the time nowadays when young people go off by themselves and not realizing the kind of danger they could be putting themselves in. Like Laura, who shares her story about her trip to Chicago. Laura decided to move to the city because she was ready for a new adventure and had her whole life planned out, ready to really start living. She met a guy who soon turned into more than just a friend. She really liked him because he was nice and good looking, and it gave her an opportunity to meet new people. Little did Laura know her new friend was a part of a sex trafficking business, and she had to find out the hard way. Laura was tortured and drugged. She was forced to have sex with multiple men for years. She thought she would never make it out alive after all the damage done to her body and mind. Fortunately, Laura was saved from the nightmare she was living in and is still trying to get help to this day from therapists and family. She works a good job and tries her best to forget about that time in her life. After the things Laura went through, she learned to never trust someone again she just meets, even if they are good looking and nice. All in all, human trafficking is a twisted and sick business being ran all over the world today. People being affected in the worst ways possible. Sexually and mentally abused, not cared for, and forced into awful things against their will. We need to start understanding the problems with the numbers of cases on missing people every year in the United States and how most of these missing cases are never solved. Also understanding the cause and effect problems from human trafficking and the health problems it has on the victims' bodies and minds, and also the families dealing with the trauma of a missing loved one. When you leave your house, be aware every time and always cautious. Don't leave thinking it could never happen to you, but make sure it doesn't happen by always being mindful of your surroundings. Human trafficking has no age limit, no gender, and no type. Nobody is completely safe from the danger of this sickening act going on in the world. And if you ever need help or feel like your life or anyone's life is in danger, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.